Hey guys, welcome back. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the new cost of living in Tampa, Florida, and how much money do you really have to make? And there's a lot of factors that go into this question. So when we talk about money and lifestyle and how much it actually takes to live in certain markets, Tampa has changed a lot over the past couple of years, and especially the job market. We are seeing that Tampa is now ranked number 4 in one of the hottest job markets in the US. And it's also ranked number 2 is the best place to find a job. But there's a problem with that, and we're going to dive into it. But what I really want you to do is stay tuned to the end, because I have some I was a recruiter in a past life. I've got some recruiter tips. If you're in the job market and you are seeking a job in Tampa, I've got some tips for you. So hang tight till the end. And I just want to dive in really quickly because I'm going to talk about the cost of living, but I do think it's really important that we address the elephant in the room. Yes, Tampa is an emerging market. Yes, we're seeing a lot of growth. Yes, we're seeing 300,000 people have moved here in the past couple of years, and like 125 move here daily. So that changes the landscape drastically. So yes, we have all these wonderful big Fortune 500 companies that are moving here and making Tampa their headquarters, but our salaries changing. And that is also going to determine how much it's going to cost for you to live here comfortably. According to ZipRecruiter, the average salary is $60K a year, which is about $29 an hour. Now, you're saying, what? You need to make $60K? You know, if you're a single person, if you are a young person newly into the job world, that is a huge salary. So one of the articles I found was titled, "How much does a single person need to make in order to live comfortably in Tampa?" Well, it will surprise you. On average, an individual needs to make $96,000 a year for sustainable comfort in a major US city. $95,000. Let that sink in. According to Smart Asset, living in Tampa and St. Pete will take a little less than the average. So if we look at the chart, now they're saying Tampa is about $45 an hour is what you're going to need to be comfortable. And the salary required for a single person is now at this 95K, actually 94. So just below the national average. So the data has been a little bit all over the place. It depends on the job, right? It depends on your experience level. So you have to take all of this into consideration when it comes to what is it that you do? What is it that you want to do? And how much do you need to live? And so we're going to get to all of that, but I wanted to bring up the job market because when I was in recruiting, it was very hard to ask people to leave their nice high-paying job in New York City and try to sell them on sunshine to come down here and take a 20K drop in their salary. Now we're starting to trend up a little bit more, you know, as we're seeing the numbers, they're going more towards the national average, but we really need that to change because of the housing market, and we're going to get to that. I also wanted to let you know, I'm going to put a link in the description that lists the top 100 Tampa Bay workplaces in 2024 so that you can kind of go down that list. And if any of them appeal to you, I highly recommend you getting on top of their job board and seeing what's available. Don't forget, we're a tourist town, so hospitality and tourism are going to be the driving industries in the Tampa Bay area, as well as the healthcare market. So we're getting a lot of nurses, travel nurses, doctors, all sorts of people. And then the finance sector is huge here as well. So if you actually need a job in the Tampa Bay area, you really have to, first off, go, wait till the end of the video so I can give you some tips, as well as going to this link so that you can check out some of the workplaces that are highly rated in our area. You have to do your research and you kind of have to come here and scope it out. Because even when I was transitioning back to Tampa, I needed a physical job in the Tampa Bay area, and it was not easy, but I was in recruiting. So we always need recruiters, right? And again, stay tuned for my tips on that. If you're going to be a remote worker, then it's going to be fine for you. You just have to make sure your salary equates with the cost of living here and you'll be fine. But a lot of people, now that COVID is over with, we are now transitioning back into the office. I have a friend of mine that works for the city of Tampa, and he's now fully back into the office after, almost, 4 years now. So it's an adjustment. So our city's starting to kind of get its groove back, but we really have to wait and see where the salaries are going to land, because personally, I think the way that the numbers are showing is saying that if you don't make almost $100,000 a year as a single person, you can't live here. I think that's ridiculous. So we're going to talk about the reasons why that is the case in a few minutes. All right, so let's just jump into it. We're going to talk about the housing market because I really feel like, in my opinion, and comment below if you have a rebuttal to this, but I really feel like the housing market started this upward tick. We were historically low when it came to the cost of living averages based on the national averages. We were always low. I was living in Atlanta, Georgia. It's still more expensive to live there than Tampa, but it's creeping up. And when I was looking at how much it would cost for me to move to Tampa, it was a big factor as to why I moved home. It was because the cost of living was lower. I could actually, at that time in 2017, I could afford a condo and I could live nicely. Then things started to change, and especially during COVID. So our housing prices. As everybody knows, and you all out there that are watching the market, you're educating yourself. You're getting really smart. But here's a couple of things. We have always been low as far as the national average when it comes to our home prices. When you take a look at Florida, we are a peninsula. We are surrounded by water. There are very few areas in the country where you can be near water and have the prices that we have. So when you compare them to what they used to be, yes, people are like, oh, the prices are inflated. I personally believe, and I'm going to stick to this, and you can argue with me in the comments if you'd like, and bring it on, is that we were always really low. In my community, you could get a waterfront home with a boat slip under $500,000. Actually 350, 450 back before COVID, if I can say that right, COVID. Now, there's a house sitting in my neighborhood that's $1.5 million. Same house, values are increasing. People are moving here. That's what creates that supply and demand, right? Let's talk about the average home prices. So the US national average for a single family home price is about $417,000. Again, that's the national average. That's taking in every house, right? So the Tampa average, which I do believe is a little skewed, and we're going to talk about that. It's right now, Redfin is saying we're right at the $422,000 mark. Now, I am hard-pressed to find a 3-2 with a decent amount of square footage in that price range. I'm not gonna lie. And if you want renovations, you gotta go up. So I've been working with some buyers. We're currently under contract. They had a budget of $550,000 and they wanted a pool. And they had a very specific area. They wanted to stay between Palm Harbor, Dunedin, Clearwater, staying as close to the water as they possibly could get. And we found them a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. I believe it's about 1,800 square feet and it has a pool, and we went under contract at $520, if that gives you a little idea. And then I have a listing over in Safety Harbor of a property that's beautiful. It needs some renovations. It's dated and it has a pool, and it's listed right now at $620. Now it is biking and walking distance to downtown Safety Harbor, which is highly sought after. And the neighborhood is beautiful, and it is a very beautiful neighborhood. Like, it's a sought after neighborhood. I can't express that enough. So you're paying for area, and you're paying for area. And most of the time, I just want to speak to the values right now, because I did look up that we're trending about 4% year over year in values increasing, and we're usually at about 2%. So yes, our values are increasing a little bit higher than the national average, but the issue is, again, we have always been historically below the national average for being a state surrounded by water. So you can get waterfront property here, or get close to waterfront property under $1 million in some areas. Now it's going to need renovations. I also have sold a house, $1.3 million, that is on a canal. So it just depends on the level of houses. All of the houses in Tampa are old, unless you're going to new construction. So you either have brand new construction or you have older homes that need renovation. Your price point's going to shift depending on whether you're willing to do those renovations or not. So again, when you're looking at cost of living and can I afford to live here, your housing budget is going to be your biggest expense, right? So you really need to know what you're getting into and what you can work with, whether you can work with updating a kitchen down the road or a bathroom down the road or put in a pool down the road. That's going to help you drop that budget down to a reasonable standpoint, because again, we're dealing with interest rates, and interest rates are never going to be in those 2s and 3s ever again. Maybe we'll see the 5% next year, but right now we're still hovering at 7 and 7.5. So that shifts your budget as well. And don't forget rentals. I don't handle rentals. There is no money in it. So Trust me, you're better off on your own. I can steer you in a couple of directions. But the average rental price in the Tampa area is going to be anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000, depending on the area. You're paying for the area, as well as your square footage and how many bedrooms, etc. Our rental prices, to me, are really a mortgage payment. So if you're looking to buy property and build some equity, let's get you into a condo. Let's get you into a townhome, something small. Start off small, something that you can afford, and build that equity, so then you can eventually move into a home. I believe there is a way to transition that if you do the math for yourself and what your budget holds, there's a way to do it. But I personally, the rentals in Tampa are just outrageous because people can. They can ask for whatever they want. There is no regulation here, unfortunately. Hope that's going to change soon. Powers that be. So those are just some of the realities all of us have to face. Those of us that have been living here for a long time, or those of you that are trying to relocate here. These are things we can't control and we can't change until legislation starts to kick in and we can start getting things moving here in the state of Florida. I don't see a lot of this changing anytime soon. So that has to be factored into your decision making when it comes to trying to figure out if Tampa's the best place for you to relocate to. So how much does it cost to live here? Well, we're going to be diving into that right now. And I've got a couple of calculators that I'm going to provide for you as well. And for the most part, we're just a hair under the national average. So keep that in mind. But if you're in a larger city like New York, Chicago, Boston, LA, those kinds of places, we're definitely going to be below that. But when it comes to cities like Atlanta, Atlanta's just a smidge above us. North Carolina, we're about leveling out with. So I'll show you that on the calculator here. One of the calculators that I really like is Numbeo, and you can compare cities to each other and kind of take a look at all of the expenses and see what you think. Now, again, it's averages. So if we did a cost comparison between Tampa and Orlando, for the most part, we're not that different from Orlando. Where we differ is in our restaurant prices, interestingly enough. Grocery prices are just a little bit different, but not a ton. I think what's going to surprise a lot of people is the utility bills. For some reason, Tampa utilities and Orlando utilities, there's like a 34% difference. I'm not quite sure what that's about, other than the utility companies, and they are independent. So Tampa Electric and Duke Energy here are talking about increases, and they already did an increase. So that could be why. Childcare is more expensive in Tampa. Clothing, it's about average. You're going to see rent prices in Orlando being very similar. There's not much of a difference, but for a 3-bedroom apartment in what they call the city center, it's like a 15% difference. And as you see here, a buying apartment price, they mean like price per square foot. So you're going to see in Tampa, our average right now is about $400 a square foot. And when you look at Orlando, it's about 284 square feet. But Orlando doesn't have very many good places to live. Orlando has a lot more crime than Tampa, just a heads up on that. And if you disagree with me, put it in the comments. Obviously, I don't live in Orlando. My best friend lives in Orlando. And when she was looking for a place to live, she had very few options, especially because she has kids. Can be a little sketchy. And there's not much different in the salaries between Tampa and Orlando. So I just wanted to show you this calculator because I think it's really great when you're looking to compare, if you're looking at several cities that you want to look at. So if you look at this index right here, Tampa, Orlando, you can see the varying differences, and then New York. There's some very helpful calculators online that can help you determine the cost of living, comparing other cities. So like I said, I'll link those in the description for you, which will help. The average grocery bill in Florida is around $287 a week. Now, I have friends with kids, and I think that's pretty low. I think you probably can go up another $100, in my opinion, probably more like $350 a week. Me personally, I'm a single person, but I do shop at Sprouts and Trader Joe's, so the ticket prices are a little bit higher. I can spend about $150 a week. But I also can go 2 weeks without going to the grocery store. So you have to weigh that out. I think whatever you're paying right now for groceries, you might want to just take it up about 5 to 10% and just over average when you're looking at your budget. And of course, we've got grocery stores here like Publix and Walmart Grocery, Winn-Dixie. We also have, Costco's and Sam's Clubs, Trader Joe's, Sprouts, Whole Foods. You have a variety of mix. personally think the Walmart grocery market is cheaper than the Publix, but Publix has more options. I like Sprouts because I can buy the specific brands that I like and, more organic, onesie twosies here's and there versus a packet of things that I don't personally need. I like Trader Joe's for that factor as well. Let's talk about gas, because I've been watching gas prices go up and up. We were averaging about $3.38 a gallon, and now I've noticed we're about $3.58 a gallon, and we're staying there, $3.58. So I have a hybrid. It's the greatest car I've ever bought. I'm a big fan of it. It's not a newer hybrid. It's a little older, and I have an 8-gallon tank. I fill my tank up, and I'm a real estate agent, as you know, so I am running all around. I can go to Sarasota and back and Wesley Chapel and back, and I still don't have to fill up. So depending on the size of your tank and the kind of car that you've got, you're probably going to average anywhere from $150 to $200 a month on gas, maybe more, again, if you've got those big trucks and big SUVs. The national average is right there at about 200, so $200 a month. So we're not far off. Now, if you live in states like Texas, which I lived in Austin, as I've mentioned before on this channel, and I was floored by the low gas prices, but there's oil rigs there, so Texas is always going to have lower gas, I think. Next, let's talk about car insurance. I personally think that Tampa's got to figure this out. I've lived in some major cities like Los Angeles and Atlanta and Austin, Texas. Austin, I think my car insurance was the lowest of anywhere that I've ever lived. But here it is higher than it was in LA. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Florida is a no-fault state. So the insurers are going to pay their policyholders no matter whose fault it is. And people take advantage of that. There's a lot of people that are uninsured here, as well as it's high tourism here. So there's a lot of people that are bringing their bad habits from other states into our state, and they don't live here. So they're trying to figure out how to maneuver in our weird infrastructure and our traffic. And I've talked about it a lot. It's a bone to pick with me. I really hate our traffic. Moreover, I don't think the drivers are very good. And traffic is going to be traffic no matter what city you go to, especially an emerging city. But bad drivers, I think they are the worst here. So stop it. So I tell people you might as well start getting some quotes. If there's some areas that you're watching the housing market, go ahead and call your auto insurance company and ask them for a couple of quotes and get an idea, because it could be significantly higher than what you're currently paying, and that will definitely change your budget. Homeowners insurance, flood insurance. If I had a dime for every time I'm asked this question. So here's the deal. Homeowners insurance, there's a couple of things you have to understand. And now let me talk about flood insurance. Some policies are transferable. I was able to do that in one of my properties that we sold. You want that grandfathered in premium price with flood insurance, so we always ask, is it transferable? Because if not, then the new buyer is going to have to pay that top premium amount if they're in a flood zone. If you're not in a flood zone, you do not need flood insurance, okay? So that means you're more inland, not around waterways, okay? And again, same thing applies with homeowners insurance. If you're more inland, you're going to have less insurance issues because you're not near water. So that homeowner premium price is probably not going to be as high. Again, shop. You need to shop insurance companies. There's about 8 more companies that are coming back into Florida. We had some insurance companies leave, so it made it very competitive, and the prices were outrageous. We're starting to see a little bit less of that competitiveness, and the prices inching down a little bit. I always say, though, get an insurance guy in your back pocket so that when you're looking at houses, you can maybe call him or text him and say, hey, could you run a quick quote on this property? We do that all the time. So I've got a guy if you need one, and he's local here. I tend to like to work with the locals that have been here the longest and see, but homeowners insurance and flood insurance can price you out of a home. So it's something that you really need to consider when you're looking at your budget. And with new construction properties, your homeowner's insurance is going to be less, but you have to factor in the HOAs and CDDs, which you may not have in some of the older communities that don't have HOAs. So you just have to weigh that out, which way to go for you. Because again, a new construction home is going to have more warranties. It's going to have a 10-year structural warranty by law. Property taxes. I get asked about this a lot. So the best thing to do is just factor in 1.3% of the purchase price. Whatever price you go under contract with, 1.3% of that that's about a good average of taxes you're going to have to pay. There's a bunch of calculators. Various counties have their own tax calculator. So you go to the property appraiser site. So it'd be Pinellas County Property Appraisers Tax Calculator or Hillsborough County Property Appraisers Tax Calculator, and see for yourself if you can find that average. Don't forget, we're a homestead state, which is going to help your taxes significantly if your home in Florida is your primary residence. Homesteading keeps your assessed value of your home from going up 3% every year. So I have a link for that as well. Homesteading is a whole nother bird, but just know that when we're at the closing table, they talk to you about homesteading. I have a link that I send people to Homestead. You pretty much do it after 45 days of closing, and you don't ever have to do it again. And it will significantly decrease your taxes. Some of the calculators will factor that in for you as well, so you can get your homesteaded rate. All right, let's go to the big mamma jamma, which is utilities, because this has been something that people have commented on my channel about. I personally had an experience of it going up. I don't know what's going on with Tampa Electric and Duke Energy, but they keep giving us increases. And I just read another article that talked about there might be continuation of these increases into 2025. I personally, when I got this condo, I had the energy efficient people come out here. That's part of Tampa Electric as well. It's a third party provider. You can have them come do an energy assessment of your property, and they put more insulation in my attic, which helped, and they sealed up some of the doors that were leaking some air. I probably need to have them come back out because that was 7 years ago. And I've seen my utility bill keep going up and up and up. And I'm in a 1236 square foot 2-story condo, and I'm paying about $143 a month. I think that's high because it's just me. The national average is around $219 a month. I still think that's a little low. Again, I'm a single person, but if you are in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, 2,000 square feet with a pool, your electric bills could easily be $350 or even $450. Depending on how cold you want your place to be. Because don't forget, we run our AC year round. There's maybe 10, 12 days a year where you're going to not run your AC and open the doors and get a nice breeze, which is fabulous. We love it when that happens, but that doesn't happen a lot. So you're running your AC all year. You've got obviously water bills and, pool pumps. Pool pumps are running all the time. And if there's something going on with your pool and you need to drain the pool and then fill it back up, that's going to be a huge water bill as well. So don't forget, utilities are going to be a little bit different based on your lifestyle, based on the size of your home and the efficiency of the home. So if you're buying an older home with less efficient windows and doors, that could be a big problem, and you're leaking energy and causing you to have those higher bills. So that's why I tell people, if you're going to, I know Tampa Electric does it because I did it. You look on their website and they have these home energy audits. That's what I did 7 years ago. Again, I'm ready for a new energy audit. I highly recommend that to my clients when they're moving in and they're kind of getting settled in, and then about a month into it, let's see what the utility bills are. And then you might want to call them and have them send the third party vendor out to kind of take a look at things. I don't believe it costs you anything. It didn't cost me anything 7 years ago. That could have changed, and don't hold me to it. But it's worth having them come out and do an audit so that you can see where you're leaking energy and how they may be able to help you be more energy efficient so you can keep those bills down. Also, we water our lawns a lot here. Again, if you're running AC, it's always hot. It's hard to keep those lawns green. So sprinkler systems, yes, but mainly it's really hard to keep those lawns from getting burnt grass. So we tend to water our lawns a lot more than most people do around the United States, and that can affect your budget. So like I mentioned, I'm going to link some calculators for you for cost of living in Tampa so that you can do your own homework. I'm going to put those in the description. Like I promised, thanks for sticking out with me till the end. I wanted to give you some of my tips when you are looking for a job here in Tampa. And it can be hard. So I hope some of these tips will help. And if anybody has any other suggestions, please put them in the comments below. Everybody's on this channel looking for the same thing. So let's share the wealth. First off, you have to fine tune your resume. And ideally, you want somebody smarter than you with a higher level job looking at your resume and telling you what they think and helping you to kind of rework it so that it really can shine your best light forward, especially when it comes to achievements and skills. You want to really showcase those. And again, if it's a specific industry and you can find the HR representative, pick the phone and call them. Try to get them on the phone. Do they have a job listed on the job boards or LinkedIn? LinkedIn's going to be a great resource for you as well. Recruiters are always on LinkedIn looking for people. So make sure your LinkedIn profile is up to date. Make sure that you've toggled the little notch there that says that you're available for interviews or looking for a job. Just know that your employer does not see that, by the way. That's a really great feature that they have. But make sure that if you are in a specific industry, like let's say healthcare, that your resume is reeking with those keywords of healthcare, all the different terminology, all the keywords that would be associated with healthcare. You want to make sure it's robust, because if you have to submit an application online as well as your resume, they're going to be filtering all of those resumes and all those applications by those keywords. So you need to make sure that those are, you have a ton of them in your resume and your application. And if you have submitted your application online, again, I'm a big fan of picking up the phone and calling, go, hey, I just want to make sure that you got my resume. I'm very excited about this opportunity. I think I'm worth a shot. All the little things you might want to say, but it goes a long way. You can leave them a message. I personally believe in the repetitive calling because a lot of people don't make phone calls anymore. So if you picked up the phone and actually tried to get somebody to talk to you about the job, I think you might be a step ahead. Also, don't be afraid to, if you're physically in Tampa, to go stop by the office and see if the HR manager is willing to see you. Say, I applied online. I just want to stop by. I was in the area. Could I just get a little face-to-face time? The more proactive you are, the better you're going to look to that HR manager, that hiring manager. And last but not least, I've said this on a couple of other videos, I am a believer in finding a recruiting company that works for you. So I'm going to link that as well in the description. There is a list of some of the top recruiting firms in the Tampa area. Get with a couple. Kforce is one of the big ones. Sell Staff, Insight Global. Some of these companies, again, they need to be specific to your industry that you're looking for. Manpower is going to be for all of my industrial people, logistics, warehouse, admin, secretarial stuff. Kforce has some technical positions as well. They're going to have some IT. So it just depends on where you land in what industry, but I think that might help you out a lot. So again, I hope this was a helpful video for you to understand, we are still a growing town and prices have been going up, but I hope we're going to level out here soon. So again, well, I hope this video was informative to you. And as always, if you need any real estate related help, I'm your girl. My links are below. Jump on my calendar. We'll get a conversation going. And until next time, I'll see you next week. Bye.